getting ready to let Amy Cosper into the room. I'm so excited. I'm like so excited that I even got her to do this interview with me. I'm telling you, it's going to be a game changer when this podcast goes live. And she's here. Amy Cosper is here. Yes, she is here. The one and only. Okay, let me set this recording. Amy Cosper. Oh my gosh. It
I
is so
know.
good to see you.
It's so good to see you. And that painting, I know the painting from all of your posts.
That's Ollie. That's my
I
badass,
know.
like powerhouse of a painting. And you would think with your background that it's one of those AI generated because it's so gorgeous. I know it's not. That's your beautiful home.
Oh, yeah. No, this is my house. I don't know if you know this, but I collect art. Like I have collected art my entire life. So I love watching when you get into some kind of new artist or you discover, the drawings that you found recently at some kind of auction.
Those,
Was
those are
that?
those are amazing. Those sketches.
They're so gorgeous. I couldn't believe it. It was kind of like a little bit of Matisse, little bit of Picasso early drawings. Yeah, so I love your stuff. I love it when you have the talking lamp, like when you're doing the lamp.
I
Oh,
started doing those videos because I was just getting so bored with like PR marketing, content. And then
yeah,
I just sprinkle in some of my hobby.
I know. It's so great because it's when your personality comes out, like when you're doing the talking lamp or when you used to write the little cards about each of the objects in your shop, like the story. Like, I don't know. Like I love that you're so weird.
That's why we get along so well. It was so interesting, like preparing for this interview because it was last minute, and I'm so grateful you took the time.
Yeah.
I don't normally, I have notes normally, and I do just want to riff and make this a conversation, but
Yeah.
I woke up in the middle of the night. I'm like, I'm getting Amy Cosper on to my podcast. There's things I want to know, I have to know, and I want listeners to know. And as you know, this is a new podcast. I'm going to send it out to my email list and I'm going to blow it up. But I really, because we've kept in touch over the years,
Yeah.
and oh my God, I'm so excited I didn't even do your introduction. I'll do it in just a second. We've kept in touch and we've watched each other on our various projects. And
Yeah.
then, of course, I saw your new book come across my feed, and I was like, know that this was coming out. I want to talk about that. But before I dig in, I do have questions, like a few that I want to cover today, but
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
want to talk about briefly want to talk about your entrepreneur magazine days because there's so much more going on since then.
Yeah.
That I want to possibly dig into a few of your fears.
Yeah.
Okay. And then talk about maybe some challenges and risk taking. I definitely want to talk about your book. Hold on, I have something in my eye.
I
Oh, that's
see that. Get that out.
good for my.
Oh,
Okay. You saw it in my eye?
I no, I could see your eyes start to do a little weird twitchy thing. I could tell there was something in your eye.
Got it. I don't
Did you
even
get it?
wear I don't even wear makeup. I don't know what it is.
Oh, that's the worst feeling.
Okay, I think I have it.
It's probably a hair.
I want to also have some fun, possibly with some AI prompts.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do
Yeah.
it.
Let's
Okay.
do it.
Okay. So first, I want to welcome you to the podcast. So for those of you that have not heard of or about Amy Cosper, you've been living under a rock. Let me just say that she's this motorcycle riding, like, I mean, oh my gosh, there's so many ways I want to explain her. She's like this truth bomb dropping legend. She's a startup whisperer, headline slinging badass, and she's a former editor in chief of Entrepreneur Magazine, which is when I met Amy. But truly, what I want to dig into today is talk about her new book, which is the ultimate. Oh, wait a minute. The ultimate guide to
There
startups.
it is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Buckle up. She's got thoughts. I've got questions, and AI
Uh,
may make things a bit awkward, but
oh,
welcome, Amy, to
thank
my
you.
podcast.
Thank you. That is so nice. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for being on. So, okay, again, I want this just to be a conversation, but I was also looking through some texts and things because I've kept them over the years, some back and forth texts, some
Yeah.
from years ago, from 2022, which by the way, you were like one of the first people to reach out to me when I was starting to go through a divorce, such a
Yeah.
support system. But the way that the words and like you're so quick-witted and some of the things, one of the things you said, oh my gosh, I kept it. I
Oh
would,
God.
oh no, no, it's so funny. It's so funny. Shit Gibbons.
Yeah, it was a rough time. I mean, the cool thing about us, Star, like, is that it doesn't matter how much time lapses between, like it's like no time has passed between us. I mean, we're sort of, we're very similar creatures. We're soulmates. We both had our moments of absolute hitting rock bottom, right?
That's a
And it is. And you've always been, pardon the absolute, pun here, but a North Star, not only for me, but, for people who need optimism, right? Or like a spark in their day. It's always your posts that, will pull me out of a doldrum because you've been through a lot, but you have this joy about you that is contagious. I mean, we were just talking about it. It's fun. You're fun.
you. Oh my gosh, thank you. Wasn't even expecting that. I'm so
No,
grateful.
I mean, I'm not kissing your ass. It's
I know.
just,
You're not an ass
I
kisser. I know
mean,
that.
we just needed to get that out in the open. We're not strangers.
No, we're definitely not. I'll never forget the first time I met you was at an entrepreneur event,
Yeah.
the stage, and I remember asking some of the speakers around me, okay, who is that? They're like, that's the editor in chief. And you graced that stage so eloquently, like just captured the entire room. I mean, there was thousands of people at this one event, and you just captured the entire room. It's like, and then you just mic dropped and stepped off the stage. And I knew right then, I'm like, I have got to know. I have to get to know her. So I'm so grateful that we did get to know each other. I do have a question because when you left entrepreneur, I remember there was a little franticness going on. I had some emails back and forth from some people, and it felt like there needed to be like an industry group therapy session about it. Did you find that when you left, there was a little bit of chaos after you leaving, or do you think it was pretty fluid? Like, was it smooth? Because I felt behind the scenes, maybe you didn't see it, but people were panicking.
Yeah, no, I don't, I'm one of those people, like when I'm done, I'm done, right? So I'm not really sure what happened at Entrepreneur after I left. I mean, they've gone on and they've succeeded and they're just a wonderful resource. But I mean, I was there for 10 years, it was time. It was time for a change. And, it wasn't like I look back on it, Star, and it's like it wasn't my most graceful moment, right? Like you look back on I mean, what a great experience. It was the greatest opportunity and experience in my life to get to run Entrepreneur Magazine. But like I'm just gonna just gonna peel back some shit here, okay? Right?
Mm.
Like when you're at the top of your game, like an Entrepreneur Magazine, and as a woman, it took a lot, right? Like scrapping and clawing your way to the top of the masthead. There's the ego involved in it, right? And that ego, and I talk to startups about this all the time, ego can really get in the way of progress and of success. And, my own ego, I think, was the cause of that inelegance when I left Entrepreneur, right? And I look back and I'm sad about the way I left it there. It just wasn't graceful or gracious or really anything anyone should ever look at and go, "Hey, I'm going to be like that." It was a lot of ego and kind of clunky. What can you say?
Wow.
Yeah,
Raw. Love that you just shared that. I really like the idea. Oh man, that's so cool. Yeah. I've learned over the years too with my own ego to just, punch myself in the face here and there and just wake myself.
yeah,
Everyone struggles with it. If you don't, you're not human, you're alien. But thank you for
yeah,
sharing that piece. Okay,
yeah,
so out of all your time, and I'm gonna get your book here. I want to get your book, but I have a
yeah,
few more.
yeah. It's just a book.
It's a cool book. It's a really cool book. I mean, I have to tell you, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but when I started reading it, because I thought, I've done a ton of startups.
Yeah,
Honestly, I was like, what can I learn? And like in the first few pages, I'm like, oh shit. Like, I
yeah.
know this. I
Well,
mean,
thank you.
yeah, there's some cool basic stuff, but but some of the like federal permits, and here I'm going through it. Um, and I love how you just infused AI and marketing into, okay, I want to get back to the book in a second.
Okay.
So in your entrepreneur magazine days, is there one particular story that really stands out to you, that moved you, that changed you to this day that you covered?
Oh my gosh. There were a lot of stories. The ones that really moved me, honestly, are the stories of startups outside of the United States, right? Like startups who are really bootstrapping and, scraping their way in emerging economies, right? So I spent a lot of time speaking at conferences, pitch competitions around the world. And the stories that moved me, it wasn't the deal flow in Silicon Valley. It was always these teams of co-founders who really, entrepreneurship is such a new concept in countries that aren't ours, right? Very new that you would want to be in charge of your own destiny and start something. And so, women startups in Africa, startups all across Europe, Croatia. There was a woman founder who, her passion was helping women in India. And I can't remember the name of the company, Starr. I'm going to have to look this up. But she started a lingerie company, right, in this country. And the goal was to take the idea of this lingerie, which in India, it's a very personal, right? You don't really talk about it. But part of her company was 501c, right? So a lot of her proceeds from this lingerie company went to fund startups for women in different parts of India. And she is so much more eloquent than I could ever be. But she's the one who said, and she defied all the odds, right? A saturated market. Never got one headline out of the thing, but she did it out of such purpose, right? Like this purpose-driven mission. And, up until that point, I thought that was kind of a bullshit idea, but it actually is such a thing and it is so powerful. And she believed in this and she did not stop. And the whole goal was to help these women, pull them out of poverty. So those kinds of stories are the ones that stick with you. Like the flameouts in Silicon Valley, I mean, there's billions of them. The stories that are poignant, like the ones in emerging economies are, they stuck with me. They still do to this day.
I was going to say, in the times that we've spoke, you have talked a lot about businesses, international, overseas businesses,
Yeah.
and that is, or has been, a passion of yours. Has that always been a passion, or did you come across that more at Entrepreneur?
I'm wanderlusty, a lot like you, right? Right. And so when you're wanderlusty, you look for opportunities to go see new things. And Entrepreneur, what a platform, what an opportunity. And they just, the opportunity to go, explore entrepreneurial ecosystems around the world presented itself. And, I was able to go out and, really explore these ecosystems around the world. I mean, it was really one of the greatest gifts I've ever received.
So what are you doing aside from this book that we're going to talk about? What are you doing today? I mean, what's Amy Cosper's startup or business or businesses? What are you doing
Yeah.
today?
Yeah, so I'm actually the head of content for a transactional company called busy.com, formation company, right? Been in business for 20 years. But they brought me on to stand up their media component, right? So what I'm doing for them is creating content, video, social, and article feature length in a repository on their website. It's not live yet. It will be in another 10 days. It's called Startup Central, right? So it's basically a place, a resource for entrepreneurs to go to find anything they need, right? Like the book. All of the content in the book, there's some kind of representation of it on this Startup Central that we have developed. So I do all of the content for Busy. I do all of the scripting. I run a podcast, the Get Busy podcast, which you need to come on. So I'm doing the same thing, only it's not traditional media, right? This is a new kind of media that it's so much more fun because you're not locked down by advertisers, sponsors, right? There are no advertisers. We are the advertiser, right? And so it's just been like there's so much, it's a huge sandbox and there's so much creative freedom that all of the things that you aren't allowed to do in traditional media, you can really push the boundaries in this kind of business. And it's where the money is. So you get to experiment and it's like it's perfect. I don't know how I got so lucky to be able to do this. And we did the book and so anything to do with storytelling is what I still do. So
And busy.
yeah,
That's
that's
busy.
yeah.
Okay, I'm trying to write down. Oh,
Yeah,
that just,
so it's
okay.
a partnership between me and Busy on the book.
I
Uh,
love it.
they really wanted a book and I really needed something to it's the thing about startups, like I was thinking about this before we got on this call, but the thing about, entrepreneurship and startups, and I want to get your opinion on this as well, but there's so much hope, right? When you immerse yourself with start, and you know this because you've been one so many times, right? It's in times of, insecurity and instability in the world, there's still this optimism and hope and these moments of utter transformation still taking place in the startup community, right? And so, like everything is weird right now in the world, but there's still so much sparkle when it comes to startups, right?
I agree. That's why I love, and I couldn't even imagine being a paycheck to paycheck. That's why I love being an entrepreneur. That's why I'm constantly trying new ideas, new startups, because no matter what is happening in the world and the economy, I can depend on my brain, my creativity, and the people that I've built relationships with, to reach out and build something with.
Yeah.
And again, you're talking about on the media site, there's no restrictions, really. It's
There's not. There's
endless
not.
possibilities.
Yeah, and like this, but people listening may not know this. And I love this concept, right? If you are in business, right, no matter what your business, if you have dry cleaner, car wash, franchise, no matter what business you are, no matter what country you're in business, you are also in media, right? And if you do not accept that, you might want to like have some introspection, right? Because you are social media. Like, who needs a magazine, right? Like, who needs a TV show? Like, everybody is their own magazine, their own media creator. And you are like such an advocate for that, like that whole concept, right? Like, people need to embrace it, right? And the younger ones are, but the more mid-level businesses, like, there's so much opportunity to, embrace your internal media, right?
On media channel. I mean, I'm finding just, over the years, I've been a publicist now for 30 years and it's the landscape, I mean, it's changing every day, but so
Yeah.
much just in the last 5 years with traditional media and the outlets that are even available for me to pitch to.
Yeah.
A lot of them don't take submissions. I sent out over 200 pitches last week for a client, two responses. And I'm pretty damn good at what
Yeah,
I
you
do.
are. Yeah.
So it kind of I took a self-esteem hit on that a little bit. And then what I did is I took a step back and I went, okay, this isn't right. Something's not right.
Yeah.
So I use a database program. So I found, I think I did about 50 editors, journalists, producers, and I went and I connected with them on their Instagram or their LinkedIn or whatever. Anyway, I entered a different way, shorter
Yeah.
little pitch, something to get their interest. I now have, I don't know, over 20 people have responded. Yes, let's
Yeah.
talk. So it's not only there's not as many outlets that mass, media pitching that I can do, but it's doing it differently and reaching out to them differently. But what I love, I want to go back to what you said about being your own media channel. So many people don't get that
Yeah.
and that I've worked with, and it is going to be a problem for them. I agree.
Yeah. It is. And it's, like that's why like startups and, even established businesses really need people like you and me in their lives because we are such champions of, non-traditional media development, right? Like it is endless, the possibilities of what you can do with so, I mean, it can also fuck you up, right? Like,
Yes. And there's that. I agree.
right? Like,
So what do you, okay, let's talk about this then. This is taking me down a different road, my thinking. Launching, Busy and this new, media outlet channel hub. What are some of your tips in getting exposure for what
yeah,
you're launching? Because for me, I don't know if you knew, but back in the entrepreneur days, I had over 1 million followers
I
across.
know.
I
Yeah.
was hacked on YouTube.
Half of them were stalkers,
I had
US stalkers.
I had stalkers too. I lost my entire YouTube channel, all of my followers. I kind of gave up. I was so discouraged at that time. I'm rebuilding, whatever, followers,
Yeah.
not even my goal necessarily, but I'm looking at new ways to get the larger exposure and that's why number one, I wanted to do this podcast because I want to just get out there and talk to interesting people and change makers, change agents,
Yeah. Yeah.
and doers. But people aren't leveling up enough. And that's why I named this a Level Up podcast. They're just not doing enough. So I want to
Yeah.
help with that. But what are your tips or what are you doing, if you can share any secrets,
Yeah.
get more exposure for your media outlet?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's different. And it's such a great question. And I'm not really sure I'm the most expert at this, but like with the book, we are not necessarily going after coverage on Bloomberg. We're not necessarily going after, Time or anyone to review the book. We're going after podcasters, influencers, right? We're trying to become a part of conversations, right? Not just that asymmetric, hey, here's my book, but really creating these conversations around relevant topics, right? And if the book comes up, fine. If it doesn't, fine too. So it's very different. Like it's no longer enough to just have a press release, right? It's not. You cannot, and plus everybody's using AI to write press releases now. There's like a sameness to the whole thing. Your storytelling, right? And I know you agree. Everything you do in life, in business, starts with your story, right? And a press release isn't necessarily going to capture the essence of what you stand for in your story, right? So, like, I think the biggest thing before going after podcasters or whatever is you need to know your story, right? In 3 sentences or less. Right? What is your story? What do you do? Why do you matter? Why is this relevant? Right?
What's
It's
your
all,
story?
what's my story?
Is or less?
With which part? My
With
life, my book.
that's a good question. Just how about with busy? Let's talk about what's
Yeah.
the story with busy? 3 sentences or less. I
Yeah.
interrupted you. I had to know.
Yeah, no, the whole thing with what I'm doing with Busy is I want to be a source of information, education. There's no paywall, by the way, entertainment, right? And the main thing, like, and this is so much a part of who I am right now at this stage in my life, is everything I do, I want it to have purpose, right? If I can impact
Yeah.
one person with a word I write or a story I tell and impact them in a positive way, that's it. That's success to me right now,
I love that. So what is can you share what the revenue model is for what you're launching?
The book or
Busy,
the,
the book, the
yeah,
whole.
yeah. So the whole thing, you're a trickster. It's a great question.
By the
We,
way, this is coffee in a wine glass.
are you sure that's not a White Russian?
It's totally not. I don't even drink anymore. Once,
Wow.
once every
I
few
love
months, I'll have a glass
I'm
of wine.
just drinking water in a can, but it's Colorado. It's what we do. So the revenue model, this is an upper funnel branding move for Busy, right? We are not looking to make money. There is no revenue associated with Startup Central, the media center that we're building. What we're doing is a goodwill gesture. So it is a branding move for Busy, right? And if we get, people registering LLCs through Busy because of that, that's great. But the CEO, his mantra is giving back to the entrepreneurial community. That's it. He doesn't care if we make a dime on the book, right? And for me, it's like sticking to that philosophy of purpose, right? Like if I can put some shit together in a book that will help somebody, awesome. That's it.
Yeah, you just said something too. I mean, with this book and with a few that I've written, and I'm working on one on AI, I have two interested publishers. Although I have to tell you, I sent it to Entrepreneur. They didn't bite. Anyway, that's a whole other story. But the thing with books is they're not money makers, you know.
No, and it's not meant to be that
No,
way. It's
no,
just not what publishing is anymore.
it's not. I mean, if I were to have, what is it, Eat, Pray, Love,
Yeah. What's her name?
Gilbert, Elizabeth Gilbert.
Gilbert.
Or
Yeah,
have
yeah,
that in the brain. Okay, maybe there's a book for some money making, but
yeah.
it's not. I mean, for me, even back in my days when my first few books came out, it was to have that on my resume, to have it
Yeah,
as a door opener, conversation starter, and
yeah,
truly it is a resource. And to me, also it is giving. This is a give back book. I mean, it's resourceful. One of the things that I thought was super interesting in it, oh, I didn't bookmark the page, but hold on, just give me a second here. First of all the tax stuff you cover, man, I need to talk to my accountant because there were some new things in here. But there was a section on, what was it, federal permits.
yeah, yeah. All of that content, right? Those are written by, I mean, obviously I'm not a lawyer or an accountant, but some of the nuance in that book, and the thing about this book, Star, like that my my whole thank you, my whole thing has always been the emotional side of entrepreneurship, right? Like chase your dreams and do all of these things. And all my speeches are around like that motivational, just start, take the first step. On the other side of your fear is your success, and that is so great and so important. But there's also a lot of shit that goes along with it. And this book for me was a challenge because I am so dreamy, right? I am so driven by, emotion and, like I think everybody has potential and that's great. Chase your dreams, but don't screw yourself over by not knowing the basics, right? So it was a really good exercise for me to go back and say, yeah, chase your dream, be the best you can, find that purpose, but also be super smart about, laying a foundation.
Absolutely. I have to share with you when I think I was 20, 21. I was actually a children's book author in my beginning days.
I think I knew that. You told me
I,
that. Yeah.
I bought my first house from the city. So I hit the road and hit over 300 schools around California to sell my book. I mean, I just hit the road going and speaking at schools, pre-selling the books to PTAs and all that. Made a ton of money, ton. Bought my first house, did not put taxes aside.
Yeah.
Lost my first house to the
Yeah.
IRS. So, I mean, I was young and stupid. I had all this money. I didn't put taxes aside. Never made that make mistake again.
Yeah.
Lesson learned. But there's some great tax stuff in here, even that I still didn't know about. I want to jump into something else here because you always have this like aura of just like it's not just boldness, it's just confidence that you put out there and everything you do and when we speak. But I want to dig into what are Amy Cosper's fears because so many entrepreneurs don't talk about that, about the
Yeah.
things that they come up against, the challenges, the struggles. I mean, I try to I overshare on social because I want people to be able to relate because they're too scared
Yeah.
there. So I try to do more of that openness to help people. A lot of people call it oversharing. I don't really care because it helps people. But like, what's one fear that you have maybe that you still haven't fully kicked when it comes to being a businesswoman, an entrepreneur? One fear. You have
Yeah.
kids
I
too.
mean, I have a lot of fear, but I mean, not a lot of fear, but the fear I have. So when I left entrepreneur, I lost my sense of purpose, right? Because for so long it defined me, right? And I never ever want to find myself without purpose again, right? It is a lonely, lonely place to be. And that's my fault, right? That's something totally within my control. And I've since found a lot more purpose in my life. But when I left entrepreneur, it was a real lesson for me, right? On humility and gratitude and, purpose. So and I don't think like, I mean, I ride a fucking motorcycle. There's not like, I'm not scared. What?
About that. Hold on. Side step. Let's talk about your motorcycle. Can you send me a picture of you on
Yeah,
I want to stream that into the podcast.
yeah, yeah.
Years ago when I first saw that, I was like, what? Badass. Talk about it. Talk about your motorcycle love for a second.
Yeah, no, it's just a hobby. I mean, I love motorcycles. I love the mechanics of motorcycles. I love the freedom and I love the zen. Like you are so focused on a motorcycle, it quiets everything else in your mind. And I like speed and but it's just like a thing that I do and I've done for a long, long time. And it brings me a lot of joy because you're in it and it feels good. And it's a great thing. And there are lessons in, motorcycle riding that I've always taught to my startups. And I think the most important lesson on a motorcycle, right? You go where you look, right? If you look down at a pothole and you're on a bike, you're going to hit that pothole. It is the exact same thing for founders of startups. You go where you look. If you focus on the obstacles and the potential to fail, every single time you are going to fail on something. And so like those lessons, aside from freedom and, like the smell of leather and all of that, there's some very good life lessons in motorcycle riding.
That was a mic drop right there. Oh my God. What do you ride?
I ride BMWs. I have a GS Adventure bike, which is a bigger bike for, long distances. And then I have a BMW R, which is like this, crotch rocket.
Oh, I think I might want to try it. Oh, I
You
love
should. You totally should. Now that you don't drink, you can ride all the time, right?
that. I'm getting older, Amy. I can't, like, I drink glasses of wine when I go out with friends and feel like shit for like 3 days.
Yeah,
And I can
yeah,
see the aging happening. And I'm just, no, I'm not saying every few months when I'm at a nice dinner, I'll have some wine, but like,
yeah,
I don't drink like I used to, especially with
yeah,
the pandemic, which is a whole other story.
yeah.
Anyway, okay. Okay, so I want to talk about has it, I say former editor because of Entrepreneur Magazine, but you're
Yeah.
editor brain, writer.
Uh-huh.
What do you think is like the key number one thing as an editor with editor, whatever, glasses on, that you look at if someone's pitching you, that you're
Hmm.
looking for or that will pull you in?
Yeah. So that is a great question. And somebody just asked me that the other day. So the things that I look for, first of all, and this is going to sound really cheap, but length, right? It's got to be concise. Relevancy, right? Like, is this relevant to, first of all, my audience, or is it something relevant to an event, something of the moment, right? Like everything needs to have relevance to it in order to get my attention. And it has to be short and it has to be like boom, 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 but it has to also be a full story arc, right?
Yeah,
So it's a tall order.
yeah,
Starr,
it is.
like it's a really tall order anymore. It's not, I don't look at press releases. I don't look at LinkedIn pitches, right? Like some of the pitches are like the size of a thesis. I am
Yeah.
not going to read that. Are you?
No way. I
Yeah,
can't even, if I can't get through a pitch before I send it, like, because I have ADD, as you know, I have
I
ADD.
know. Yeah.
I have to be, so whenever, before I send a pitch, I ask myself, would I open this? And would
Yeah.
I read it? And if my answer at all is anywhere close to no or I'm like, fuck it, start
Yeah.
over, or take
Yeah.
this out. That's so true. I love that you just shared that. The, the,
Can I
the,
ask you something as a publicist PR person? I am so curious about this. What is your position on the use of emojis? Because I hate it, right? I find it to be such a turnoff, but they work, right?
They do work. Okay, so it's so interesting you just asked this. So I started playing with them in content a couple months ago because they were irritating me. And I
Yeah.
talk about AI for a moment. I use AI, but not like most people do. Um, And I started to see them pop up on AI generated stuff. And I
Yeah.
was like, this is just annoying. And then I started, reading some posts and things online about using them. I just started using them to test with algorithms. So some of my posts you'll see are multiple, meaning I post it several times, but different ways. So I'll
Yeah.
post with them, without, I'll post video form. So I'm testing. And what I'm finding is the copy with them gets more traction.
Interesting.
It
Okay.
annoys the crap out of me too.
Yeah.
But in my experience, just the I want to say like 60 day, 2 months, they're getting more traction. And I've been
Oh,
doing that with clients too, not just testing my
okay.
own. So that's super interesting and they are very annoying. But I say,
You put them in subject lines? Like, are you a subject line emoji?
wow, I do because
Do.
they
Okay.
I feel like I'm not like necessarily I don't have analytics on it, but I feel like I'm getting more traction with them in the subject. The other
Yeah.
thing I've started is I will always try now to open with humor. I
Yeah.
set my joke mode. I have so many cheesy. I have a whole thing of cheesy jokes. And I try to open with like something that'll make them laugh, and I'm finding that gets more. I get more response with humor.
Okay. Yeah.
Ah, they're annoying, but they work.
Okay. All right. Because I find them so annoying that I strip them out of everything that I do. But then I'm like,
It adds emotion, I think, though. If you think about
yeah,
it,
yeah.
it adds some sense of emotion into the copy before you even read the copy.
Yeah, and it also it tells a story, right? Like it's part of the storytelling and it's like and it's intriguing, right? And it's fun,
It is
right? And
fun.
maybe I'm just a serious, I'm just old farty
No,
editor.
'cause they were annoying me too. And I'm like, I have to know more. So I started using them
Yeah.
and I'll continue to because it's working. But
Yeah, okay.
I want to ask you about AI, being a writer, editor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I've been utilizing AI for a few years, more so probably in the last 6 to 8 months.
Yeah.
And what I use ChatGPT, Perplexity, I use a bunch of them. Jasper for marketing stuff, Napkin AI for images and charts. But what I'm finding is, well, I think everyone that's utilizing is always have to fact check. But what's important to me is that I keep myself.
Yeah.
I found it really helpful to organize my thoughts. What I'll do is I'll do like I want to write something and I'll just dump my thoughts. Here's my thoughts.
Yep.
Here's some funny things I'm thinking about. It will organize it and then I write it through. And a lot of people are just copying and pasting, which is going to get old fast, especially with the AI analyzers. You can put whatever, you can put a chapter, a blog post in and ask if it's been, AI written, and people can
Right.
now. So people need to be really careful with
Yeah.
that. Uh,
Yeah.
but my question to you is how much are you utilizing AI? And if you are, for what?
Yeah, I use it a lot, like I mean, I use it for the usual suspects, spell check, fact check, or find some kind of obscure data point. But when I'm writing, I have found that using AI to bounce ideas off of, right?
Yes.
Or if you get like writer's block, it is a real thing. And so like when I'm blocked or I can't quite get an idea, I am not shy at all about using AI, and I don't think anyone should be, right? But you don't want it to do all your thinking, right? Like always edit, always put your voice on something that has been through AI. By the way, get rid of the humongous M dashes that AI generates, right? Like don't run all the bullet points, right? You're better than that. You know what I mean? Like I just think, for writers or for copywriters, ad writers, whatever, use it, but it is not you. And you have the essence of you is your responsibility. And, don't give AI the power to be you, right? Like just, edit and
Have you
edit.
ever, yes, I totally agree. Have you ever argued with AI?
Only once, and then I found it like a waste of time because it's not great at everything and it's wrong, right?
It
Like
is.
sometimes it is wrong and it will not correct itself, right? So,
I know it's supposed to be machine learning. I just had this the other day. I'm doing crisis management for a client and it kept getting it wrong. I'm like, I just told you.
yes.
That's when I was arguing. That's why I was asking.
Yeah,
And I was
it's like a toddler, right? Like you cannot reason with it sometimes. And so it's best to just walk away. But the more we use AI, the more we're empowering ourselves, right? Like we cannot be scared of it. There are some people, who are just like, no, I'm a purist. Well, my friend, the purist, is going to be the first one that gets worked out of the economy in some capacity. So, I mean, it's a tool. Use it as a tool,
Cool.
right?
Love that you said that. It is a
Yeah.
tool. I mean, it's truly saved me so much
Yeah.
time compared to a year ago. I mean, it's cut my workload almost in half because of the way it helps me organize.
It's
Um,
the organizing. That is such an important component of it because, right, like when you have all these ideas, right, and you cannot seem to get them, anyone, not just you, start, like it does help organize and structure things, right? It's very good at that. It is not perfect, right? Like you still have to, like, don't just take it at its word. It's a flawed tool, but it is a powerful tool.
it's
So.
totally a flawed tool. And again, it's machine learning, but it's like I had it, and I did waste time the other day. I spent 20 minutes arguing with it. I was trying to get it out, but I didn't. Oh, it was so frustrating.
Yeah, no, I feel you.
So let me, first of all, I have to tell you, I did an AI prompt before we came on here. Um,
Uh-oh.
I did a couple, I put the glasses on. I
Yeah.
did, old Amy, I need glasses now.
No, no, no. We all need glasses.
Okay, so one of the things that I asked AI to generate is I just said, Summarize the ultimate guide to startups," and I put your name and the link and everything in one brutally honest sentence. You ready for it?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, this is nothing like mind-blowing, but I just thought it was kind of cool. A loving slap in the face for anyone who thinks a logo, a dream, and vibes aren't enough to build a business. That was one of them. It's everything you need to know about startups, minus the delusion, plus a fire extinguisher for your ego. And
See,
then,
we all need that.
right? And the last one was read this if you want to actually build a startup, not just talk about one at brunch. I want to talk about that. So
Yeah.
many people, oh, you and I over the years have talked about doing many things and startups, and
Yeah.
the side of
Yeah.
this kind of passes. I do it all the time,
I do
right?
it all the time too. Yeah.
It's just constant as an entrepreneur.
Yep.
And I guess I want to kind of ask you is you already said it has to be very purpose driven, but truly, what is it that makes something stick for you for a project or a startup or an idea that aside from purpose, like what makes you go, okay, I'm honing in. This is it right now.
Yeah. So for me, like when I see startups or I talk to startups or I'm even working on my own ideas, the clarity of a project, right? Like you know this because you've done this. I've seen you do this. It's very easy as an entrepreneur to get lost in your idea, right? And be unable to articulate what it is, right? And so the clarity of what you're doing it's part of the storytelling, right? The clarity. What do you do? What does it serve? What is the revenue? Right? Like those very simple things. If you are clear on your idea, then if I can see it, then I'm in, right? Like if I can see it and feel it and I can see the people it will help or impact in some way. Like it's really just about clarity. And that's just a basic, storytelling component, right? Like clarity in everything you do, right? Relationships, business, decks, pitching, whatever.
Which is so, I mean, it's easy for you, I think, to say because of your writing brain. Clarity is not easy, but you are more talented than most to be able to get there. So with startups, when it comes to ideas, and I've had this where I have the idea and I think it's great. And then I can't get to the clarity. But I think that's really where my dropping off point is because it
Yeah.
then just gets like jumbled and doesn't make sense. And I'm like, okay, never mind. So, what for people that don't have Amy Cosper brain when it
Yeah.
comes to getting to clarity, like what can some people do, startups do to hone in on finding their clarity? Hire you?
Yeah.
Yes. But aside from not having access to Amy Cosper, what can someone do?
Yeah. So the way that I've approached this with some founders, especially like when you're talking about technology companies, apps and, all the new bells and whistles, the way I approach clarity for them. Like, I'm not going to give them clarity on everything, but for their business, it's basically what I will do is sit down, and you can do this. You can have AI, sit down with AI and do this. You don't need an actual person. And I will interview them, right? Tell me everything that you do, right? What is this company? What is the idea? And I interview them as if it was for a story, right? And then I take all those notes and we shake out what the mission statement is based, because it's when you're in it and you love it and it's your heart and you like, it's hard to get that kind of linear clarity that you need. You need to have that to raise money, to brand, to go to market, to launch, right? And so that's why it's so crucial at the very beginning to know exactly what it is you do, right? It can change. It's fucking fluid, right? Like just because it's this doesn't mean it won't change. You need to be able to pivot, but that clarity opens all the doors, right? All the obstacles, and the rest just kind of flows. So if you don't have someone to kick it around, you and I have done this before where it's like, well, what is that? What is the, it's like doing an interview. So if you don't have a person and you're a startup founder, go sit down with AI and ask it to help you get clarity on what it is you're doing,
Yeah,
right?
love it. And
That's
you
it.
have interviewed me many times and pulled it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. Yeah. We've done that for each other for a long time. And, sometimes the ideas are really, really good. And sometimes they are absolute, a turd pinata, but that's okay, right? Like, we all do it.
We do. We do. One of the things that I do ask when I'm looking at whatever a concept idea, whether it's myself or for a client, is why should anyone care or why would anyone care?
Yeah.
And that helps me to start to, but I
Yeah.
love your approach
Same
too.
thing. Yeah, it's the same kind of thing. Why does this? Yeah, exactly. It's answering the why. Why does this need to exist? What does
It
it
is.
solve? All of
It
the things.
totally is. Okay,
Yeah.
so a couple more questions because we're coming to the end here.
Mhm.
A couple more questions for you on startups. So, what in your entire career, and you don't have to say names, but what was the worst startup idea that you've ever come across?
Oh God, so many. Like I
Oh,
go and look at the cover. Okay, can I just, I'm just gonna, she's in jail now, so I'm just gonna say it. Theranos, right? We all,
no.
Elizabeth Holmes, we all fell captive to her charisma and all of this. And sorry. And I look back on it, right? Like all the notes about Theranos and what it was going to do. And I'm like, how did so many people get hoodwinked, right? Because this was never going to work, right? So, I mean, that was kind of an epic one. There are lots of other, like just, I can't even remember some of them. But if you refer to the cover of Entrepreneur Magazine over the last 30 years, you'll see some very bad ideas.
I
Yeah.
know, I know. I've seen them. I've seen them. So what is the best startup outside of your own that you've heard about, came across in a story, whatever it might be? What is the best startup?
Oh my gosh. I don't know that I can answer that question, because they're all wonderful in their own way, right? There's this company. Okay.
Wait, dog break.
Oh yeah, that's Jesse James. He's my burner. He came to so
Oh,
yeah, so
okay,
I he wants to go feed the horses.
almost
So
done. We're almost done.
there's a company in Denmark. This is from one of my walkabouts, in Europe. And it is a company, I can't remember the name, like I didn't write these down. Anyway, these two co-founders created, they were huge concert goers, right? Coachella, all the concerts across Europe, all this. And one of the things they noticed is that there was always a long line for the women's restroom, and no, like, the same shit that we've heard for years. So they made, it's called LAPEE, Lepee, right? So they designed these portable toilets that are like, I've used one in Copenhagen. They're kind of semi-open, but you can, anyway, so you can take these, they're like porta potties, but they're much more efficient and they're sustainable friendly, right? And so they generated all this excitement, raised millions of dollars, and they take Les Pis all over the world to different concerts and venues and all of that. I loved that one, right? I loved that startup. Anyway, solving problems.
Le P. I'm writing that down because now I
Yeah,
gotta
Le P. I think they're Danish. I can't remember.
love it. Okay.
Mhm.
So, is there anything in this podcast? Because I get every time we connect, I just get so into just jumping in and having conversations. Is there anything that you want to share? Something I didn't ask that I should have, being the editor, writer brain that you are, that you would like to share?
No, I just think it's, I like if we could go full circle to what we started with, that, like for people who might be feeling hopeless or sad right now, or, with everything that's going on in the economy, I just want to say that there is always so much to look forward to when you start a business, right? But I also want to bookend that with it's not some glamorous journey, as you can attest, right? So be great and be confident, but be prepared because, it's not all rainbows and bunny rabbits out there.
Quite a ride. And I go through, I have about 6 to 8 weeks of massive, like producing great, work. And then I crash
Yeah.
for about a week at a time where I'm talking like I need Netflix movies, I need some chocolate chip cookies and dog time. I have to recharge. That's how I recharge. And I'm going to start traveling again and things like that. But also because there's so many people living the Instagram life or just these fake
Yeah.
lives that are posting out there, and people look at them and go, oh, I'm not doing it right, or I'm doing it wrong, or that's not going to work. And they get intimidated by all these mass media channels on TikTok, and then they
Yeah.
don't take action. And I mean, I guess my message to that is fuck them, be
Yeah.
you, right? And you and I are very much like that. That's why we've always connected. Like we have our
Yeah.
own journey. We don't necessarily care what every other person is doing out there. We have our own like mission, right? And I love that you just shared that. Okay, I want to close out with a thought for you.
All right.
Okay, this is my what is it? It's like a my star face my fears ask of Amy Cosper. I want to know if in the future you will guest host some podcasts with me.
Yes. Why haven't we done that before?
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, duh, of
ask,
course.
shall receive. I just had my one of my dreams come true live. Thank you.
Of course. And you got to come on my podcast,
Oh,
right?
hell
We
yeah.
have a studio in LA. We'll fly you up. You got to come.
I'll drive. I'll whatever.
Okay.
I don't care. I would love it. I love what you're doing. I've always loved what you've done. I fucking love your writing. I
Thank
mean,
you.
really, you edited a piece for me years ago that I wrote, and you turned it into gold. I don't know what happened, but when I first read it, I was like, oh, I'm really proud to send this to
Yeah,
Amy.
you used to write a column for us.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
It was like before any of this,
Yes,
right? Like
it
it was
was.
like in the early days, you were a pioneer in social media.
Thank you. I have to tell you though, really quick on this piece I sent to you, I was like, oh, I'm proud. It took me days to send it to you because I'm sending it to you. I'm like, I'm proud of this. And then you sent it back and it was pure gold. And I was like, I would have never fucking thought of the changes that you made. You have this like, I think of it as like this brilliance wheel. Like you send something to Amy Cosper, you put it through her brilliance, like Ferris wheel of a brain, and it comes out like a fucking gold, whatever. Anyway, I thank
Well, thank you. That's
you
very
so
nice.
much for your time. And
Thank
I
you.
know that this is the book is that it's like the foundation to what you're doing or part of the foundation, right?
Yeah.
Ultimate Guide to Startup Success. I know a bunch of people are going to go pick it up now because of this podcast. And
Awesome.
and also I want to refer them to Busy. Is it Busy Live?
It's
You
busy.com is the
okay.
name of the website. So if you're looking to launch an LLC, we do all the formations and all of that. And also the podcast is the Get Busy podcast, that the one you're coming on.
I
And
love
then
it.
we're going to co-host.
Hey, I'm going to reach out to you. I have some other guest ideas and people that I want to get on, and I want to talk to you about the podcast, structuring
Yeah.
it, and where to take it from here, and have you co-host. Oh my God, I'm so excited! Thank you.
Very
Thank
happy to see you.
It's so good to see you. Go feed your home. Have an amazing day. I think the world of you. Thank you for
I
your
think the world of you. Keep your shine, girl.
Hey,
My
bye.
favorite Phoenix. Bye-bye.
Phoenix. I love that. Love it. That was rad. Fuck, I love her. Okay, now I got to turn this off. There were so many questions I didn't even get to. Okay, these are after podcast notes. I mean, you guys, hold on. Before we close this out, I don't usually do that. Like I prepare for things, but I don't usually like print a bunch of questions. That's not the way my brain works. But because I wanted to ask her so much, I needed to get it out of my brain. And we just ended up going down all these different roads, which I thought were brilliant. I hope that you enjoyed it. And I didn't even get to ask most of the questions, but I think we covered basically all of it. She's going to co-host future podcasts with me. I mean, I love that she drops F-bombs. I love that she's so real and raw, and she will tell you the way it is. Over the years, I've sent things to her. Even when I was pitching her as an editor, she'd be like, this is shit. Or, this is good, but you need to work on it here. She just will tell you the way it is. She doesn't beat around the bush. She doesn't bullshit. She's not a time waster, and she doesn't like her time wasted or wasting your time. So I really am grateful I got to talk to her today. There's so much more I want to get out of her and talk to her about, but she's going to co-host podcasts. So stay tuned. I have some amazing guests lined up for some future podcasts. I hope you enjoyed that today with me, Starr Hall, your host. Until next time, get out of your comfort zone and level up, and let me help you do it. Bye for now.